It's a bountiful day in this hollow earth. A beautiful day for a hybrid. Do they shift shape? Boy, I feel great. Won't you be my cousin? Welcome, everybody. All my creative cousins all around this hollow hologram multiverse. Happy, what is it? Wednesday. Oh my gosh. We got a beautiful, crispy fall day. Fall is really hitting here in the Northeast Kingdom, y'all. And we are just in time for the most important meal of the day. Shrimp for breakfast! Let's go. Let's get a sip, y'all, of this strong black cup of coffee. Let's get a little gargle going. Nothing better in the world except those dang homegrown greens. Let's go. Oh my God. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped. Today I will be turning in this poster, this second part of the diptych for Of the Trees for the upcoming show at Red Rocks in early November. So freaking hyped about this piece. Loved the first one, jumped off of it. Woo! Went so freaking deep on this one. It is an instant classic. I know you're gonna love it. I can't wait to post it. I don't know if they're gonna share it right away or if we're gonna keep it under wraps a little bit. But very excited. There's nothing better than like the finishing phase. It's like this, you're really starting to like just really wanting to be done with the piece. But the last little bit, that last 5%, we talk about this in the workshop all the time. When you've been working so hard on a piece, when you've been staring at a piece for, weeks or more, this one pretty much 2 weeks on the nose, which is like world record speed for me at this point in my career. Usually I'm taking longer to do a piece. But that last 5%, you're ready to be done, but pushing it a little farther. And I made such key breakthroughs, redrawing certain characters that as I look at them, I go, this just isn't as exciting as I want it to be, right? Looking at it and really, as I say, to listen to the piece. Let the piece tell you what it wants to be. Let the piece pull you through. And as I'm looking and the sort of main figure in this piece, I'm just going like, it's telling me it wants to be something else. It's telling me it wants to be something more. And so I just follow it. I erase the little main guy and redraw it. And I redrew it lots of times, probably 15 plus times already. And just last time, just yesterday, right? Basically just like tweaking the color on a piece, going around and making sure all my lines are perfect, making sure all my coloring's perfect. But as you're just cleaning it up and doing all that proofing and quality control and finishing, the piece is still talking to me. It's still telling me, I want something different here. I want something different here. And I keep listening. I keep listening to take something good and to push it 5% further. And then as I'm getting even closer, as there's only 1% left on the piece, it's still maintaining full level focus. It's still listening to the piece. And any little tweak, any little thing that wants to be a little bit different, indulge the piece. You come this far. Why not make it exactly what it wants to be? Why not bring it over the top, right? So, feeling so freaking good. Made a couple key last minute breakthroughs yesterday that really make me so happy about this piece. Get this window going. Oh, it's getting a little crispy outside. I woke up, it was 30 degrees yesterday. Still got 2 more plants to harvest. Got 4 plants in the downstairs bathroom. Still got 4 more plants to harvest. Or no, 2 more plants to harvest. And they're my favorite variety called Candy. So I'm going to have to get to those pretty quick. Luckily, it wasn't like a really bit. We got like the lightest frost the other night. I figured it was going to be okay. The plant's still looking really healthy, looking very happy out there. But got to get them down pronto. So after I finish this piece today and I got to plug in some new templates to this puzzle I've been working on, then I got to get the rest of these plants out of the ground, trim them up, and I got to hang everything that I've got. I cut down, you guys might have seen that little funny harvest video I did of harvesting one of the plants for Cycling Frog. Shout out the homies at Cycling Frog. Check them out. Get their stuff. I've been running on this lately. Yeah, I gotta hang it all. I got 2 like clothing racks for like drying clothes, and I just like fill them up with like layer and layer, like just literally packed with flour. So hopefully it's enough. I don't even know if I think I might have got more than last year. I thought I didn't because some of the plants were smaller, but I guess maybe some of the plants were bigger too. And yeah, it's hard to tell. It's crazy. It's like unwrapping a Christmas gift. It's like all covered in leaves, and then you start to trim it up and see what you really got going in there as far as flour. And it's like, bam! I got some fucking donkey leg fucking buds out of this shit. So I'm fucking hyped. It really is like magic. Like just getting this little plant. You know, I get mine starts from like, you know, homies who grow and have farms and know what they're doing. And, you know, they're like little plants like this when you get them. And then this one plant's fucking taller than me, you know, fucking giant. Ah, yes. All glory to the weed gods, to whom I owe my life and my livelihood. Thank you. And thank you, the viewers, for tuning into this episode of Shrimp for Breakfast, y'all. We keeping the morale high. We're having a good time. Woo-wee. Let's see what we got here. I think we got maybe one last question from a month ago on that Instagram post where I was asking. We got the homie. Was it year 2 Ghost Scout? When did Old Cotton come through? Jesse Mead, aka A_secret_summer on Instagram, the homie. What if I buried a bunch of whiskey under a friend's land and it's been 10 years and it's hard to get to the state said, okay, wait, hold on. I gotta try this again. Take 2. What if I buried a bunch of whiskey under a friend's land and it's been 10 years and it's hard to get to the state said whiskey is buried under? Should I take a week off from work and go grab said whiskey or let it sit for a while longer? What a good question. Yes, there is multiple bottles of treasures buried throughout this property. And maybe the longest standing one is this bottle. Right around what we might call, what the family refers to as Sleepy Mom's Meadow, what we, have postulated might be labeled as Hollow's Landing. It's kind of the middle of the property. And somewhere in that clearing is buried a bottle of whiskey. And I have an idea of where it is. There's a landmark that marks it. And I poked around in there a little bit when sometimes the kids will go up and we'll be walking in the woods, we'll be playing, and the kids will be climbing trees there. And I'm standing there, the ground's a little wet, and I'll start poking around to see if I can get a little clank, clank. but Haven't ever dug it up. Never dug up any of it because I love the idea that there's treasure here, but it makes you so curious. You're sitting there looking and you're thinking, where is this thing? So, yes, you got to come up. We got to dig this thing up and we got to slurp on this old syrup together and relive the old days. Relive the glory days, y'all, and make some new glory days for generations to talk about. You know, Jesse is one of the most legendary Ghost Scouts for sure. And he is an absolute madman. He is a amazing comic artist. He is a real character. And once you meet him, you probably won't forget it. I'll say that. Old Cotton. Old Cotton, he's a good old boy, a good old boy, a good old boy today. Woo! Even though we would have been sworn enemies in the Civil War, we have more in common than we have in conflict, and we're friends. And I'm proud to say that. He lives in what, North Carolina? South Carolina. We have scouts in North Carolina, South Carolina. We got scouts all over the map, y'all. Shout out to all the Ghost Scouts. We salute you. Shout out to all the workshop alumni all over the globe. We salute you. Ghost Scouts all over the globe, too. Really, truly international connections. Creative cousins all over the globe, and that's the way we like it. It's by design. Let's see. I think that's about it. At ARRRBP, what are some of your favorite cartoons? That's a great question, too. I missed that one. What are some of my favorite cartoons? When I think back about cartoons, you know, I've answered the question so many times that I'll have top of mind canned answers, but I try to go past that. So let's try to deep dive a little bit. Cartoons. This is where it starts to get wavy. Cartoons. When I was a kid, cartoons. When I was sitting on the floor. You're always sitting on the floor in the 80s. When I was a kid, chairs didn't even exist, first of all. We sat on the floor and we watched a TV that was on the floor. And when I think about cartoons, of course, Saturday morning cartoons, some of the first cartoons I remember are like those Schoolhouse Rock ones where it's like a learning cartoon and it almost looks like it's like the same animated style as The Point. If you've never seen The Point, that's amazing. Me and my arrow, straighter than narrow. It's this old like 70s, I want to say, animated feature that I think Ringo Starr like narrates. And it's about a boy called Oblio who is born into this society where everybody has pointed heads and his is round. And he is kicked out because he has no point. And he has to go on kind of a hero's journey. And, you know, it's a great classic. If you've never seen it, it's really fun. It's really creative. It's really funky. It's of the era. It's of the time. It's so cool. But it's really timeless as well. And those Schoolhouse Rock must have been copying that or the same studio or same designers or whatever, because it has the same sort of vibe to it. Maybe that's kind of a lot of the mainstream animation of that time too. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm not an expert. But when I'm thinking about Schoolhouse Rock, makes me think about The Point, which is a really great one. You know, all-time favorite animated features, you know, Secret of Nim, still one of my absolute go-tos. You know, I'm trying to think, you know, Saturday morning cartoons was such a big thing. Waking up, watching the old Dungeons and Dragons show, which now I think I've tried to rewatch and is a little bit rough. doesn't hold up as well as some of the other ones. All the action figure shows, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Mask, Transformers, Dino Riders. I think that's a little later. Centurions, all the toy related stuff, that real boom. There's that show that's called The Toys That Made Us. There's a great graphic novel that Kent Osborne, my neighbor and colleague, Adventure Time alumni, got me for my birthday 2 years ago, called The He-Man Effect. That's about that whole era of like marketing, like the breakthrough that the corporations had about the marketing toys through TV shows and animated commercials and stuff like that. The action figure boom of the 80s, which was such a cool time period to live through. It's funny because there's different ways to look at it, right? In one way, and to my parents' view, my mom was like, you can't watch G.I. Joe. This is just an advertisement for the military. It's just an advertisement for toys. It's pure capitalism, pure commercialism, pure brainwashing. And I wasn't allowed to watch it. For some reason, I was allowed to get the toys. So G.I. Joes were probably my single favorite. It's like my spirit toy is G.I. Joes. It's still buying tons of G.I. Joes to this day. Like, definitely spending way too much money on the new G.I. Joe lines, which are just like the old ones on steroids. As far as detail and execution, and they're larger, and my God, it's too good to be true. It really is an absolute dream. But it's funny because there's two ways to look at it, and I know this is getting off the topic of cartoons a little bit, but we're in the ADHD zone, y'all. We ranting, how we do it. We embrace life. We love life. We are here for each other, y'all. Let's go. All right. So, oh shit, my fucking shrimp. My shrimp always wants to go swimming. All right, so two ways to see this, and I'm firmly in the opposite end. It's funny because there's the commercialism, and even now, everybody's like, the corporations are right. There's this whole battle between. There's always the battle between the corporate interest of art of corporate art, industrial art, anything where you're working with these giant corporations to make art. It's gonna be a certain thing. And I think a lot of the people that worked on those shows, I don't know, were they into those shows? I don't know. But as the kid that watched those shows, that made my life. Like, I don't care why they made it. I don't care if it was the greediest money grab in the world. I was like, take my money. And I'm still like, take my money. Like, there's always this double-edged sword of capitalist art, of corporate art, of industrial art for money's sake. That is, it's tricky. It can be problematic, but gosh, if looking back, that whole era inspired me so much. I mean, the toys even more than the animation. I mean, the fact that we were marketed those toys and sold those toys, and I played with those toys, and my imagination was built on those toys. You would not have Ghostshrimp without those shows, but especially without those toys. I love toys. I mean, this makes me happier than almost anything I've ever done. This freaking Boy Who Cried Wolfman toy, right? The first official Ghostshrimp action figure from Unbox Industries. There's 4 more characters in this series still to come. I mean, they're backed up. I checked in with them, with Dan Willett over there. I said, hey, when's the next one? When's it coming? And he said he didn't know. He'd check in. He said they're really backed up. But I mean, my God, there's something. So it's great to have a painting, a print, looking at a two-dimensional digital piece, looking at a three-dimensional digital piece, watching a movie, all this. But the idea of playing with this toy, having this imaginative totem to build stories with, play through, they're your friends, you play with them with your friends, all this stuff. It's like action figures, toys. I don't know what it is about it, but art, toys, and toys in general. And so much creativity goes into that stuff. Someone had to like working on G.I. Joe, right? I know I think Larry Hama is one of the great G.I. Joe creators. I think he worked on the comic end of it. I don't know if he worked so much on the show end of it, and I think the comic was maybe more creative than some of the show. If you watch the G.I. Joe show, it's like some of the dumbest storylines of all time. It's like almost unbearable, but it's so classic. It's so dumb, but it's so classic. It's like so corny. And you watch it and it's like totally different than you remember, but it's still like just feeds that. But to me, actually, my favorite thing is G.I. Joe the movie, which a lot of people don't even like. It really depends on what age. It's like if you're my older brother's age, by the time Return of the Jedi came out, like you hated it because it was Ewoks, it was teddy bears, it was bullshit, it was Star Wars went soft. But at my age, like Return of the Jedi, the Ewok Village was like my absolute favorite toy that I ever had. I loved the Ewoks. I was the perfect age for the Ewoks. I mean, that movie was made when I was like 3 years old, right? I think it was it 1983? Circle back. ADHD, backtrack. Animated shows other animated shows that I love. I'm trying to think about other animations that I saw. Trying to think about the early ones. And it's really I think it really does reside in that Saturday morning thing where you're getting up before your parents. I could watch like an hour of TV, but you get up super early and they were on super early. And, it was that Schoolhouse Rock stuff that was on. And then you go through the different shows that are on a Saturday morning. I'll tell you, I can remember vividly the first time I saw Batman the Animated Series at my friend Seth Hersey's house. I watched a lot of my first Arnold movies there. Predator, I definitely think I watched there. Terminator 2, I classically watched with my dad after stacking a bunch of wood. I had to stack like a cord or two of wood. Felt like 20 cords of wood, when I was 12 years old, doing it alone or whatever. But, watching Batman the Animated Series, the style of that show, how different it looked and felt, the design of the show, right? Not just the style of it, the design of it, the look of the characters, but the layout, the design of it, everything about that show made it so new, so different. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are incredibly close to my heart because, number one, it's a product of New England. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird are native New Englanders. My Uncle Steve knew them from kicking around UMass and Amherst and got me a Donatello toy. I need to relive this story with him because I think it's, in my mind, this is the story and I don't know if it's true, is that he was friends with those guys. He somehow got an early hookup of a Donatello toy for me. And I remember he forgot it. And I was supposed to get it at like Christmas or something, but he forgot it. And then he mailed it to me later on. And I was sick home one day and it came in the mail and it was like the greatest thing in the world. And I got it and I brought it to school and I was the only kid who had a Ninja Turtle toy. Now, I don't know how accurate that story is, but in my mind, this is gospel. This is Ghostshrimp canon, okay? I'm going to have to run this story back with my Uncle Steve and see how true this is, right? But this is my story, and I'm pretty sure that the main elements are true. I'm not sure if all the details of it are true, but we should get it. But The first issue of Ninja Turtles was drawn in Dover, New Hampshire. I remember vividly the first time I saw the Ninja Turtles comic on the shelf in the Amherst Public Library when we lived in Shutesbury, Massachusetts. When I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, it had to be right in that zone somewhere. And that when they all had the red bandanas and it was like on display you walk in the main room, it was like on display on this thing. I used to go read like Tintin comics all the time there, and then I started reading the Ninja Turtle comics. The show came on. The Ninja Turtle show was so huge. The original X-Men show, now we're getting more into the 90s era. The original X-Men show, now when you look back, the figures are so stiff and so weird looking. And the new X-Men, if you haven't seen X-Men 93 or whatever, like this is what you think that show is gonna, what you think the old one is gonna look like when you go back and watch it is what the new one looks like, which is amazing. So now we have both. But the whole, that era of that run of the X-Men show, coupled with the comics, coupled with the toys coming out at that time, we took a field trip from Shutesbury Elementary School to New York City. We went to FAO Schwartz in Manhattan, and I bought the cable action figure that was not out in Massachusetts yet. New York City, FAO Schwartz gets toys before they go other places. Especially, maybe it's just all the major cities in general, but that was my story at the time. We definitely didn't have it at the time in New Hampshire, or in I was still living in Massachusetts at this time. In Massachusetts, at the mall, going to the mall, going to KB Toys, or at Child World in Cape Cod where we went. Child World was insane, and then later became Toys R Us. They did not have it for sure because we were like, I feel like we went to the toy store every weekend for sure with our allowance and scoured the toy store and would hide guys and all that stuff. Got the cable action figure early, which was amazing. That whole run of, again, for me, animation is so tied to toys, right? Like, to me, illustration is tied to hip hop. And animation is tied to toys, in my experience, because, when I think of illustration, I think of album covers, and I think of me doing album covers, and I think of listening to hip hop, and I think of drawings for music. So illustration is very much like tied to hip hop in my mind, and toys and animation are tied together. And again, those were the biggest ones to me. The thing that, the animated features, as we've talked about, the Wolfgang Reitherman ones, the Sword in the Stone, the Disney Robin Hood with the fox. Right now, that shit is that is my jam. The Jungle Book, all those ones, the Sketchy Line, the Bill Pete design ones, all that era is my favorite. Aristocats, which somehow I don't even know if I had seen Aristocats when I was a kid, but it's one of Juniper's favorite movies, so we always watch Aristocats. And then, of course, there's the seminal moment when my older brother came back from he had moved out. I was 12, he was 18, he was 23, fuck. I was 12, he was 23, and he came home for a visit, and he brought a VHS and popped it in, and it was Liquid Television, and it was Ren and Stimpy Fire Dogs episode, and it was Aeon Flux episode, where there's all the people are drowning in blood, and there's just feet of blood, she's killing everybody, and then, she always dies at the end, she died at the end. Watching that was where the first time I can really remember seeing something that, especially to see it on TV, that was so different, and I go oh my God, you can do that, like you can break the rules, like and to me, the Ren and Stimpy especially started to hit in a way that it felt like me, that it felt like it was for me, that it felt so non-commercial, right? After growing up on the commercial stuff, after that hit in such a different way, the gross out factor, how it looked so weirdly different. You know, it's definitely coming out of the underground comics of that era, and I was definitely exposed to, you know, our Crumb comics were definitely in the house. Fabulous Freak Brothers were definitely in the house because of my older brother. My Uncle Steve's comics, Dog Boy, were in the house. They were all on his top shelf. They were all on his, out of reach because they had sex in them. They had drugs in them. I was supposedly not supposed to look at them, you know, according to my parents, but I could sneak peeks now and then. It was that world, but it was being delivered in a package, you know, in this cartoon. And that changed me forever. Also, Ralph Bakshi's animated stuff, you know, definitely the Lord of the Rings was a huge one growing up for me. Wizards, I watched over and over and over again. Wizards was definitely one of the ones that just like Wizards and The Secret of Nim are two ones that are the most watched, along with, you know, Star Wars, obviously not animated, but Star Wars, you know, on just ultimate repeat. You know, tail end of that era, the first Batman movie, the Tim Burton Batman movie, on ultimate repeat, memorizing all the lines, you know, classically could recite every line in the movie and would do it to drive my little brother up the wall. He would just be like, stop doing it. We would just watch it. It would be on and I would just be doing the lines and be driving him absolutely bonkers. I remember that. But yeah, there's so much, you know, I know there's more weird, obscure ones. You know, but Ren and Stimpy, I feel like, was one of those things. Mad Magazine was tied in there. Mad Magazine was tied up in this whole thing too. My brother loved Mad Magazine. We still have all his old Mad Magazines. And Mad Magazine is so incredible. I would love to work for Mad Magazine. Shout out to Mad Magazine. That would be a really cool goal. Because my older brother read Mad Magazine. I read Mad Magazine. Wolfie loves Mad Magazine. I mean, it still is the same. I haven't like read it, but like I'll buy it and I'll flip through it and I'll give it to Wolfie. It still looks the same. I mean, Don Martin, he must be dead, right? Like, and is Sergio Aragonés is alive still, but like maybe they're just running old stuff, but like it still looks the same. It still feels the same. The continuity of Mad Magazine, I don't know if the quality is still the same, but it looks like it's just exactly what it was back then, which is absolutely nuts. What is the same still? The fact that if they've kept the continuity, that's absolutely incredible. I would absolutely love to work for Mad Magazine because it's such a staple, such a canon. I don't know if they pay well. I don't know if they can afford me, unfortunately. But, you know, that's one of the ones that I would probably just do, you know, just cause it's so dope. But there we go. We're going to keep it tight. We're going to keep it closer to 30 than 40. There we go. Little shrimp for breakfast, y'all. Don't forget to buy the merch. Buy the merch, y'all. Hottest merch anywhere, obviously. Best coloring book in the world, The Lost Forest adult coloring book. We're working on the second one now. You can get this Walmart, Amazon. Go to your local Walmart especially. Rip this off the shelves. If it's not there, ask them for it because they put in an enormous physical order of them and we don't want to leave them hanging. We want to sell those books. So get those and sign up for round 15 of the Ghostshrimp Classic Workshop. It's probably going to happen in the wintertime. It was scheduled to start like this weekend, but we still only have 4 people. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe it's inflation, maybe it's algorithm, maybe it's all of the above, but we will be back. We will see you on Friday, y'all, and we will go through. I've been seeing there's some more comments. I haven't seen a lot of questions. We'll have to get requests for some more questions. But I saw there's some more comments. We can roll through the YouTube comments, and I will read the comments and salute everybody that's commenting and give y'all a shout out and riff off of that. So give me your questions, give me your comments, give me your feedback, give me your likes and don't likes, give me what you're watching, give me what you're liking. Let me know, y'all. This is meant to be a conversation. We're building it up. This is a high morale creative conversation, y'all. That's what Shrimp for Breakfast is really, that's what we're trying to build here. And don't worry, the podcast is coming. I'm really trying so hard to get you one this week. I'm turning in that poster today. That's great. Then I will only have 2 projects on my desk rather than 3. So that's good. And yeah, we're really rolling, y'all. I'm really proud of myself for doing this last poster. It's 18 by 18. I mean, it's 18 by 24, but they need room to do the, the words and stuff. It's an 18 by 18 detailed piece that I banged out in, 2 weeks. Which to me, that's almost like, and I think a lot of the old stuff maybe was done within a week or 2 weeks, like the pre-Adventure Time stuff. But, pretty much everything after that starts to grow to 2 weeks or a month or more than a month, right? Because I'm really pushing the detail, pushing the stuff. And when I was working my analog styles, it would take much longer. Now that I'm really getting comfortable on the Cintiq, this was the missing ingredient, is like, man, I love where my work's at. I love my process, but it's taking so long. That's the one part of it that's kind of clunking me up, money-wise. It's like I make a lot of money, but because I take so long, sometimes it ends up, being like, geez, it's not a lot of money by the time if you spend months working on shit, it's tough. So, I always put quality first, but I'm so glad, right? Make no mistake about it. Money is always super secondary. When I'm working on a piece, money is the last fucking thing on my mind. My goal is to make a legendary piece. My goal is to just let the piece decide when it's done and let the piece tell me what it needs to be, right? Boom, end of story. But you do want to be able to pay the bills so you can keep doing that, right? That's the whole goal. So, the Cintiq, and me jumping to the Cintiq, even though it was counter-logical for me, even though it was, not something that I was super interested in doing, I actually have fallen in love with it. It even feels more like my process now than my normal process does. And it is so streamlined that it is really allowing me to work faster, and I'm really starting to capitalize on that now, which I'm really excited about. And I think 2025 is going to be a year where I can work faster than I have in probably a decade, which is very exciting because it's going to allow me to do a lot more work. I'm going to, in the next, from here to the end of the year, I'm going to be banging out this new book, and I'm going to do that at record speed, which is going to be absolutely great without compromising quality. I will never, ever, ever compromise quality, y'all. But here we are, making a long video again. God damn it. Here we go. Shrimp for breakfast. See y'all Friday. Bam!